All right. Well, thanks, everybody. Before I begin, I do just want to comment on an event that happened yesterday as it relates to my meeting with Prime Minister Mark Carney and the comments of his new Environment Minister, Terry Duguid. Yesterday, in my discussions with the Prime Minister, I made it clear that Alberta will no longer tolerate an emissions cap on oil and gas, which absolutely works like a production cap that scares away billions of investment and thousands of jobs, makes us more dependent on the United States, and has been found by Ottawa's own Parliamentary Budget Office to be greatly destructive to the Canadian economy. He both told me in the meeting and then later in his press conference with the media that same day that he wasn't in favor of hard caps like that. He said he was interested in results and getting projects like pipelines in the ground, and that's good because you can't fill new pipelines and cap oil production at the same time. So the Prime Minister's words sounded kind of nice yesterday until I looked at my phone right after the meeting with him and found out that his new Environment Minister had just told media on the other side of the country that the federal Liberals would be keeping the emissions cap in place. And this has been the same story for the last 10 years. Liberals come to Alberta, they smile for the cameras, they tell everyone how much they're going to work with Alberta and support the energy sector. Then they go home and proceed to do everything in their power to roadblock and scare away investment from the energy sector. And now they're doing it when Canadians are literally demanding that we build new pipelines and production to become more independent from the United States. So we're just asking the question of the Prime Minister, is he prepared to lift this destructive and unconstitutional production cap or not? Albertans and Canadians do want the answer before they go to the polls and not after. In fact, we'd like to have the answer today. And I hope that we know whether or not it's the Prime Minister's message or the Environment Minister's message. I know there are many members of the media who wanted me to address that off the top, so I wanted to do that. Now, today's announcement, it is a pleasure to be here along with Health Minister Adriana LaGrange, Technology and Innovation Minister Nate Glubish, Arthur Kaindl from Siemens, Tom Valentine, Board Chair at the Alberta Cancer Foundation, and Brenda Hubley, Chief Program Officer at Care Alberta. Today is more progress for healthcare in Alberta. We're refocusing the system on patients and staff. We are fixing long-standing problems in acute and primary care, assisted living, and mental health and addiction treatment. And this means giving each branch the attention it deserves. But it also means ensuring that Albertans can count on the latest in medical technology. So I'm delighted to announce that we are partnering with Siemens Healthineers. I don't know if you coined that term, but it's the first time I've seen it. Healthineers at the Alberta Cancer Foundation to give cancer patients exactly what they need. Alberta's government will be investing $800 million over 8 years towards this cancer innovation partnership that will leverage artificial intelligence, attract healthcare professionals, and support researchers as they explore emerging cancer care solutions. This will set up our province as a leader in cancer care. With this funding, we will increase capacity for treatment, reduce wait times, and support cutting-edge cancer care and early detection. Through the partnership, Siemens will replace Alberta's existing equipment as it reaches the end of its life, and Siemens will provide new, more advanced tools, along with software and expert consulting services. Cancer researchers in Alberta will also get access to cutting-edge technology, and we're creating 2 centers of excellence in cancer care, one focused on oncology training and one focused on artificial intelligence and machine learning. The Learning Centre of Excellence in Cancer Care, which will be here at the Arthur J.E. Child Comprehensive Cancer Centre in Calgary, will be the first global oncology training, learning, and reference site in Canada. And the Artificial Intelligence Centre of Excellence in Cancer Care, which will have a physical location in Edmonton, will create a cancer-focused artificial intelligence and machine learning program. Here, medical and AI specialists can come together to find solutions to improve operations and the delivery of care. Of course, none of this would be possible without the help of our fantastic partners. Thank you, Siemens Healthineers, for seeing the opportunities that our province offers for emerging technology and great discoveries. And I'm grateful to both the Alberta Cancer Foundation and Care Alberta. Each organization is staffed by tireless people who care deeply about this cause. Everyone affected by cancer appreciates your leadership, your compassion, and the optimism you bring to every battle. Together, our goal is to make cancer a treatable condition so that many more families can be spared the pain of losing a loved one. From prevention to detection to treatment, we will ensure that Albertans facing cancer receive the best care possible. And now I would like to invite Minister Adriana LaGrange to take the mic and share more about what this partnership means for cancer care across the province. Minister.
Thank you, Premier, and good morning, everyone. It is indeed a pleasure to be back here at the Arthur J. E. Child Comprehensive Cancer Centre to celebrate this cornerstone partnership between the Government of Alberta, Siemens, and the Alberta Cancer Foundation to advance innovative cancer technologies, treatment, and research in our province. Every time that I am here, I am reminded that at the heart of these substantial agreements that require months and months of talks, countless emails and meetings, are Albertans who are often heartbroken, anxious, and facing an uncertain future. Statistics tell us that 1 in every 2 Albertan will deal with cancer in their lifetime. But cancer strikes at the hearts of all of us, whether we have helped a loved one with a cancer diagnosis and treatment, or have faced a cancer diagnosis and treatment ourselves. It is the reason that on days like today, I am both humbled and honored to be part of something that brings hope to so many Albertans. Hope that someday worlds won't come crashing down in hospital waiting rooms after patients have received test results. Hope that someday grueling treatments that rob us of full lives won't have to be endured. And hope that someday doctors will be able to reassure everyone with cancer that life will go on. As Alberta's Minister of Health, I know that we have some of the top talent in cancer research and care in the whole country, and indeed the world. But if we don't invest in the tools and technologies that they need to do their jobs, then their talent is unrealized and may even go to waste. 65% of the equipment and software used in cancer care and diagnostics imaging in Alberta is past its life cycle. Not only will this $800 million partnership between the Government of Alberta, Siemens, and the Alberta Cancer Foundation ensure we have the technology, the equipment, and research relationships that will carry us well into the future, it will also create 2 groundbreaking centres of excellence that will position Alberta at the forefront of the fight against cancer. First, our partnership will ensure the replacement and growth of equipment, software, and maintenance services used in diagnostic imaging. This includes introducing brand new technologies that are more effective and will significantly reduce wait times for patients. Consider this: a new artificial intelligence-enabled treatment unit could shorten the time from consultation to treatment from 2 weeks to 2 hours. With the value partnership in place, visits to emergency departments for oncology-related cases could be reduced by 30%, and wait times between a patient's initial consultation to receiving a diagnosis have the potential to be reduced by 50%. When every second counts, that difference could save lives, and we know it will. As mentioned, one of the most exciting elements of this partnership is the establishment of 2 centres of excellence. The Learning Centre of Excellence in Cancer Care will be located here at the Arthur J. E. Child Comprehensive Centre, and this centre will create the first global oncology training and learning centre in Canada, nurturing our homegrown talent and attracting international expertise to our province. 2 oncology fellows will be named, leading efforts to take advantage of the latest in technology and advancements in cancer care, building it into education and training, resulting in a skilled workforce that can provide cutting-edge care in Alberta and beyond. Having a centre dedicated to learning means we can speed up the pathway from idea to reality, and that's so important in cancer care. How we treat cancer has changed so very much. What was once a devastating diagnosis is now a series of deft maneuvers to get a hold on the disease and create stability in a patient's condition and life. And I've heard it referred to as a chronic illness now. Leveraging technologies such as artificial intelligence or AI can help us predict cancer and where it might go, providing information that puts us well ahead of the game. This is such a powerful tool with so much potential, and the establishments of an AI Center of Excellence in cancer care will revolve around creating AI models that improve the accuracy of cancer treatment. The center's focus on AI will also encourage new avenues for data science, creating a data infrastructure that will be put to use immediately for analytics in Alberta and attract top talent to come and work in our province. To that end, the AI Center of Excellence, which will be located in Edmonton, will also support a chair in oncology clinical trials focused on bringing the latest in cancer treatments to Albertans. Working alongside these two centers of excellence will be a $48 million research and innovation fund, made possible by funds invested by Siemens and the Alberta Cancer Foundation. This will support innovation through collaboration, encouraging researchers and scientists to work with frontline healthcare workers to explore and test emerging cancer treatments. All of this will result in reduced wait times from suspicion to diagnosis and treatment, and better serve all Albertans facing cancer and equalizing access no matter where they live in the province, and ultimately, vastly improving outcomes. I know cancer takes a lot from us, but I am convinced that by working through partnerships like this, we will, bit by bit, take away its power. And so again, I thank you all for being here at this historic announcement, and I'll now hand it over to Arthur Kaindl, head of Varian.
I have to say, I'm honored to be here today, not only to celebrate our partnership, but to mark a monumental step in cancer care that has that potential to change lives here in Alberta, but it also has the potential to change lives all over the globe. Much has been achieved in cancer care. Survival rates are up. However, there is much more to do. When you look into the statistics, there are around about 20 million new cancer cases all around the globe these days, annually. And this number is likely to increase to 30 million new cancer cases all around the globe over the next decade. We at Siemens Healthineers, we take cancer care to heart. Our mission, a world without fear of cancer, is behind everything we do. As a matter of fact, we actually see it as an obligation to partner with organizations like you here in Alberta to transform cancer into this chronic, manageable disease. We've been partners here in Alberta for more than 3 decades, focusing on scientific research and moreover into clinical translation. Today, we move this partnership to a new level. Together, we will be working on optimizing the entire cancer care continuum here in Alberta. We'll work on enhancing patient experience. We'll work on enhancing patient outcomes. And of course, we'll be improving the impact that we're all making in each community here in Alberta. I'm convinced together we provide access to high quality care to each individual cancer patient in Alberta. We're not only going to focus on addressing today's challenges. As a matter of fact, we go beyond that. We'll join forces to invest and to develop new solutions in cancer care. And we're building on Alberta's strength in technology and innovation here by, as it was mentioned before, establishing a training center of excellence here in Calgary, but moreover, to establish a Siemens Healthineers AI Center of Excellence in Edmonton. This is a natural fit for us. As the #1 in diagnostic imaging globally, as the #1 in radiation therapy, as a clear leader in AI in healthcare. So, together, we're not only going to shape the future of cancer care here in Alberta, I'm convinced we will be redefining it. So I'm honored, I'm humbled, and I'm extremely proud that we as Siemens Healthineers are part on this transformative journey. So thank you very much. And it's now my pleasure to invite Tom Valentine to the microphone.
Good morning, everyone. I am incredibly excited to be here, representing not only our Board of Trustees, but the more than 100,000 donors that make up the Alberta Cancer Foundation community. We are proud to stand here as part of such a groundbreaking partnership and everything that it represents for Albertans facing a cancer diagnosis. I'm told that this may be the largest partnership of its kind in Canada, and that is a special accomplishment. Our collaboration represents a giant leap forward in our shared commitment to providing world-class cancer care and research right here in the province of Alberta. Think about the possibilities that this partnership brings. We're talking about improving access to higher quality care for Albertans across the province, and that is the very definition of a good news story. But for the Alberta Cancer Foundation and our community of donors, we are particularly excited about the significant research component of the partnership, transforming our province into a hub for cancer breakthroughs that will now directly benefit our friends and our family, both today and into the future. Every day, we work with generous Albertans who want to make life better for those facing cancer. And time again, they tell us how important the hope of new breakthroughs are for them and for their families. There has been so much progress in cancer, but there is still so much about this disease that our researchers don't understand. Our donors are passionate about seeing new treatment options and innovations made available to their loved ones and as soon as possible. Philanthropic support, matched by public and private dollars, show this deep and lasting commitment to making that hope happen quickly. It is an unstoppable combination. Now, we are so lucky to have this wonderful base of cancer research to build from in Alberta. We have two renowned cancer research institutes located at the universities of Alberta and Calgary. We have the incredible facility like the Cross Cancer Institute and the beautiful Arthur J.E. Child Comprehensive Cancer Center that we stand in. Our ambition to have even more Albertans participating in life-saving clinical trials is a reality. Our goal is to fund the development of tomorrow's therapies right now, prove them right now, so that someday soon they can become the standard of care. This announcement today supercharges the collective impact that we will be able to make, including leveraging Alberta's excellence in AI and data sciences to improve access to care for those who need it most, training the cancer workforce of the future on emerging technologies and advanced care, and bringing the most efficient and most precise radiation and diagnostic equipment to Albertans in a timely manner. Through this new partnership, Alberta will become a leader in cancer care innovation, not just across Canada, but across North America. We are confident that this will bring new optimism to the 1 in 2 Albertans that will face a cancer diagnosis during their lifetime. This is a wonderful day full of promise and hope, and the Alberta Cancer Foundation is honored to be part of it. Please now welcome Brenda Hubley, Chief Program Officer with Cancer Care Alberta, to share her thoughts. Thank you.
I am truly delighted to be here today, and I'm very grateful and excited about this transformational partnership and the investment in cancer care in Alberta. This partnership will position us to leverage the power and impact of technology, research and innovation, and our people, our fabulous people, to deliver the best-in-class care when and where patients need it, across the care continuum, across the province, now and into the future. This partnership and investment in cancer care will ensure the timely and scheduled replacement and expansion of our entire cancer fleet, ensuring the latest advancements in state-of-the-art cancer treatment and diagnostic equipment and technology will be installed and available in Alberta, ensuring Albertans always, always have access to best-in-class care. It will ensure that we have leading-edge software and tools, including the ability to leverage artificial intelligence and harness the power of data and data science to streamline our workflows and processes. And that will ultimately improve capacity and access to care, and with that, most importantly, improve clinical outcomes. That on the shoulders of the world-leading cancer research and discovery that is already happening in Alberta every day, innovation will happen in Alberta. More innovation and research will happen here. We will accelerate the pace and impact of research and innovation across the cancer continuum, and we will position Alberta as the place of opportunity for top oncology talent. And we will have a future-ready and supported cancer workforce to care for and support cancer patients and families across the care continuum, solidifying Alberta as the place where the best and brightest learners, researchers, practitioners, and teams work. Ultimately, this all means that Albertans facing cancer will have access to the highest quality care and services and as close to home as possible. On behalf of Cancer Care Alberta and our 17 cancer centres across the province, from Grand Prairie to Medicine Hat to Peace River, and the patients and families that we serve, I want to thank the Government of Alberta, our philanthropic partner, the Alberta Cancer Foundation, and Siemens Healthineers for this value partnership and your commitment and support to advancing cancer care in Alberta. Thank you.
Thank you to all of our speakers. We'll now head into our media Q&A portion. We'll be taking one question and one follow-up. Please make sure to state your name and outlet before asking your question. We're just going to start with a couple questions on the phone, and then we'll come to the mic in the room here. Operator, could you put through our first caller, please?
Thank you. Your first question comes from the line of Don Brace from Calgary Herald. Go ahead.
Hi, everyone. These news conferences always turn into another topic, not the one you're talking about. So I just want to say something really personal. I wouldn't be here, most likely to annoy the Premier, if it wasn't for Alberta Cancer Care and the treatment I received at the Tom Baker Cancer Centre. So I just want to say on behalf of myself and my family and a whole bunch of other patients I'm sure, thank you for what you do. Premier, was Mark Carney in the meeting with you yesterday mentioning anything about lifting caps or any of that? Because he came out sounding like you, for heaven's sake. Maybe you're just over-excited. But do you have any confidence that what he said, clearly said to the media afterwards, has any meaning at all as we head into this election campaign? And is there anything specific that he indicated in the meeting?
Thanks for your kind comments, Don. I think Brenda was really gratified to hear that you had a good experience. I'm going to I was willing to keep an open mind, really. I put 9 issues on the table that have depressed oil and gas investment. The Prime Minister seemed to indicate he wanted to find a way to fast-track the construction of new corridors and new pipelines. And then he went and did a press conference where he said that he was not in favor of a hard cap, which is something that he said to me as well in the meeting. But then his Environment Minister said the exact opposite. And what I said to him was, I will judge you based on whether you say the same thing in Alberta as you do when you go to British Columbia and when you go to Quebec. And so that's what we're trying to get some clarity on, is what is the direction of this new administration. If it's really a new administration, then I put the 9 key pressure points that we need to see addressed. And unfortunately, we're still seeing that same kind of saying one thing here versus another thing from a minister. We just want answers. So I hope he'll give some clarity today.
Yes, I have a sort of two-part follow-up, Premier. He would have to do an enormous amount of legislative work to change all this. There's a cap. There's the Impact Assessment Act. There's laws that would have to literally be changed. There's Bill C-59, which means we can't even talk about this stuff. All this stuff that we have to be changed. You think he really can wrestle, or should he win, a new Liberal caucus into agreeing to basically ditch all that stuff? The way he was sounding yesterday, that would be what he'd have to do. That's number one. Number two, I just want to ask if there's any response from either you or Minister LaGrange about the former AHS CEO's latest court filing.
I would say that I understand the legislative process. I know it takes a little bit of time to draft legislation in order to be able to repeal. All I want is the same kind of indication I got from the official opposition leader, which was, what Alberta's asking for is pretty reasonable. We'll do it. That's all I really need as a level of commitment. But I think that there just needs to be some clarity about whether or not we're seeing a true change of direction, or whether it's just a continuation of the same old policies with the same ministers in the same places. And I don't think we have clarity on that. So I think it's kind of back in the Prime Minister's court to try to give us some clarity. And I'll turn it over to Minister LaGrange on the statement.
Thank you. So the government statement of defense has been filed on this AHS HR issue, and right now we have no further comments to make on it. But I appreciate the comments you made about cancer, because I too have had a cancer diagnosis and have lost both my father and a younger sister to cancer. So I know it touches every single life, and it's so important when these investments come forward to make sure that we don't lose sight of the people, because oftentimes you see the statistics, but you have to put a face behind every single one of those statistics. And early detection caught my eye cancer, or I wouldn't be here either. So I know every single one out here has been touched in a similar way. Thank you.
Thank you. And we'll take a couple more from the phones. Operator, can you put through our next caller, please?
Your next question comes from the line of Morgan Black from Global News. Please go ahead.
Hi, Premier. Thanks for taking my question. So my first one is just kind of talking about the 9 pressure points that you mentioned. So when you're talking about a constitutional crisis and things like that, I'm just wondering how that sets you up for success with Alberta federal relations. And with that in mind, can there still be a Team Canada approach from that starting point?
I think that there is a consensus emerging with the threat of the completely unjustifiable tariffs that have been levied by the United States. What I've seen emerge is a real willingness on the part of all of the premiers to find a way to remove interprovincial trade barriers, identify economic corridors, and talk about restarting some of the projects that died in the last 10 years because of the policies that have been in place. The Bill C-69, the No More Pipelines bill, did the effect. It makes it difficult for any linear project to get approved. The tanker ban on the West Coast makes it impossible to build a pipeline to British Columbia. The inability of companies to even talk about their emissions reduction without potentially facing criminal charges. I mean, those things are kind of a baseline that you have to get rid of if you're going to demonstrate that there's a true change of action. It's not difficult. Even the emissions cap, which would be very easy to say we're not going to do that. The Ottawa's own parliamentary budget officer confirmed what 2 other reports had said, that it would depress investment, it would reduce the amount of GDP, and it would cause job loss and would shut in production. So these are not unreasonable things to be asking for, since there seems to have been a change in approach across the entire country, so that we can start acting like a country again, be an energy superpower in our own right, find new markets. The only way to do that is to build linear infrastructure east, north, and west. And so we just are looking for some clarity on whether there's a genuine change of heart in the federal Liberal cabinet and among the leadership to do those things. And so at the moment, we're getting a mixed message. But yes, we can continue on with an approach. We're meeting as a First Minister's group today to talk about the impact of not only the export tariffs, but also the import tariffs. I've got businesses in my riding that have been impacted both ways with export tariffs as well as with import tariffs. And so we need to get an understanding of what the compensation looks like to defray some of the pain that our businesses are suffering through. And we also need to develop a strategy about what happens April 2nd if indeed reciprocal tariffs are applied worldwide, as it seems the President is suggesting, on 5 different products. Do we then dial down our import tariffs, which are only hurting Canadians, or do we? What is the action that we need to take? So I think those are a couple of things that I'll be putting on the table. Just we need to have a strategy for what happens April 2nd, as it looks like we'll be very likely in an election at that point.
Thank you. And then my follow-up, with the carbon tax coming to an end on April 1st, we noticed that gas prices have increased by like 13, 14 cents in Edmonton, and so folks are worried about not seeing much savings. So what's your message to gas companies, and why do you think that increase is happening right now?
Well, don't rip off consumers is my message to the gas companies, because we have a way of catching you. We know what the wholesale prices are. We monitor those closely. And Dale Nally has the means to be able to ensure that those savings are passed through to customers. So they've got another couple of days to make sure that they're appropriately pricing their product. And I'll be, if there is any question of that, I'll be asking Dale Nally to take a closer look at it, as we've done before.
Thank you. And we're going to take one more from the phones, then come here to the mic in person. Operator, could you put through our next caller, please?
Your next question comes from the line of Rick Bell from Post Media. Please go ahead.
Good morning, Premier. What happens if there is a Liberal government elected? And what happens if after 6 months, 9 months, a year, maybe they do one of the 9 things, maybe they do none of the 9 things, maybe they even do 1 or 2 of the 9 things, but they sure don't come close to doing the 9 out of the 9 things. What happens then? In other words, how much of what you're saying is talk, and how much are you prepared to walk?
So the things that we have asked for is for us to build corridors north, east, and west. We've asked to repeal the Bill C-69 offensive sections, the No More Pipelines Act. We want them to lift the tanker ban off the BC coast. We want them to eliminate the oil and gas emissions cap, which we know now from their own parliamentary budget office is indeed a production cap. We want them to scrap the net zero power regs over which they have no jurisdiction. We want them to stop their prohibition on single-use plastic so we can start using straws again. We want them to abandon the net zero mandate, which comes into effect in January 2026. They're expecting Albertans who buy 200,000 cars a year to all of a sudden start buying 40,000 cars a year of net zero as soon as January 1st of next year. We want them to return oversight of the industrial tax, carbon tax, to the provinces. We've had our own industrial pricing since 2007, and we have a very effective program for recycling that into innovations that reduce emissions. And we want to end the federal censorship on energy companies. They should be able to talk about their environmental record without it being termed greenwashing by environmental advocates. None of what I've put on here is unreasonable. And if there is a true change of heart, then the Prime Minister and his cabinet will move in that direction. So that I want to be able to give whoever becomes a Prime Minister very clear identification of our pressure points and see within 6 months if they're able to address all of those. And if they don't, either one, then we're going to have to do what my predecessor did the last time around when similar frustrations were faced for similar reasons. And we'll do a broad, fair deal panel review. We'll go and talk to Albertans and see what they would like us to do in response. I mean, this is going to be something that Albertans have to be very engaged in over the next number of weeks and months as we have an historic opportunity to reverse some of the policies that have been so damaging to our economy in the last 10 years, and a lot of goodwill, I think, on the part of our fellow Canadians and fellow premiers. So I just, I'm putting it out there, and what we're asking for is not unreasonable. I hope every single federal leader just says, yeah, we'll work on those, and then we'll judge the outcome in 6 months' time, and then you can ask me then.
And my supplementary is, let's say you have another panel that goes out and talks to Albertans. How far are you willing to go? What options are you willing to put on the table? Because when Quebec, for instance, in the past has had demands, and Quebec demands have not been met, Quebec's ability to entertain many different options were put on the table in front of other Canadians, and it created, to use your term, an unprecedented national unity crisis. So I'm wondering how far, we've already had one fair deal panel, which was supposed to get a fair deal, you didn't get a fair deal. So if you have a second fair deal panel, and it goes out, and it doesn't get a fair deal, how far are you willing to go to make the point with the federal government?
Well, what came out of the last fair deal panel was a couple of proposals, one around equalization, which the former premier put to a referendum. Another was around an Alberta pension plan, which they said, do the homework, and if it makes sense, put it to a referendum. So I always feel like big, important decisions need to be put to a referendum of all Albertans. And so if that is what comes out, is there some referendum question that the public wants us to ask, either through that process or through citizen-initiated referenda? We have a process where Albertans can sign up 10% of their fellow citizens and ask for a question to be put on a ballot. I believe in direct democracy, so I don't want to prejudge what it is Albertans might want, but there are mechanisms to be able to identify those so we can put it to the people.
Thanks, Rick. And we'll go to our mic in the room now. First, the mic, feel free to go ahead and state your name and outlet.
Hi, Carrie Tate from the Globe and Mail. My question's for the Minister and the Premier. Can you explain why, clarify why the board of AHS was dismissed?
Well, as I said earlier, Carrie, the government...
That is not before the courts.
Carrie,
the government
please, you asked a question. You're going to let the minister give an answer now.
The response that I'm going to be giving you is the same response I gave earlier, which is the government of Alberta has put forward its statement of defense, and in this AHS HR issue, and we stand by that defense.
The board being dismissed has nothing to do with the court case. It's
well,
a separate
it's all
issue.
before the courts right now, and
but that's not before the courts.
There are
and
other
even that
investigations
isn't an
going on.
You can
and
Carrie, are you asking
have
questions or waiting for
investigations
answers?
going on by the Auditor General, as well as the former Judge Wyant, that is going to delve into all of these issues.
Thank you,
Now,
Carrie.
they
That was
mentioned
one question, one follow-up.
inappropriate for
The
the
Globe and
government to
Mail
cut a
has had
reporter
many
off,
questions
right?
at these press conferences before.
Is it?
Your colleagues are
Can you
behind you, waiting to
explain-
ask a
Do you guys
question,
mind if I ask
and I'd
them?
like to go
They're
to the
good.
next in line.
They said
As I
okay.
said, one question, one follow-up today. I'd like to ask next the mic to ask their question.
Will you release the report that BLG submitted? As the Globe reported today, it was due at January 31st. Will you direct AHS to release that?
This is all before the courts, and you will get more information as time goes on.
Thank you, Carrie. Next, the mic, please.
Matt Skates, Canadian Press. For Minister LaGrange, thank you for taking our questions. There is, in this reply, allegations that the ministry staff were concerned about connections to recovery communities. Will the investigations look into this? Like, are we getting a commitment that this will be investigated at the very least?
The investigations through the Auditor General, as well as former Judge Wyant, have full control to look at whatever they want to look at within this whole procurement process.
And then for Premier Smith, back to this national unity crisis question. Are you committing to a fair deal panel? Like, what exactly is on the table here? Getting back to this question.
I have put the 9 things on the table that I think the next federal government, whoever it may be, need to address in order for us to do what aspirationally it seems everybody wants to do, which is to get pipelines built to the BC coast, more LNG export facilities built there, pipelines built to our northern coast, pipelines built at Churchill, pipelines built in Energy East. The only way to do that is to be able to send a message to the producers of the products that will go through it, that there's an enthusiasm to make it easy for them to go through an approval process. And right now, the 9 things that are on here send the opposite message. They send a keep it in the ground message. And so I'm just looking for some alignment with what is publicly stated in the middle of an election campaign in order to win votes versus what the action needs to be in order to be able to make good on the commitments that are being made. So we just need some clarity from the Prime Minister, because he seems to be having all different statements being made by his ministers. And so that's what we're looking for.
I'm just asking what Alberta's or else is here.
I guess we'll see what happens with the election. I mean, there's a few steps that have to be taken. I put these issues on the table. There has to be an election, which we gather is going to be called on Sunday. Once that is over, in my view, clock starts ticking. And within 6 months, we would expect to see some meaningful movement on these issues. And if not, then I'll do a fair deal panel and listen to what it is that Albertans want to do in consequence. Thank you. Thanks.
Thanks, Matt.
Hey, Tim Brooks, CTV. Same question for both of you, but I'd like separate answers here. Can you just walk everyone through what the procurement process was like when it came to the children's pain medication? Because there's some new reporting out that says it was very obvious to your government that there was risk here, financial risk, taxpayer risk, and also risk with not getting the medication on time. So how was that decision made? How did you weigh the risk here?
Well, I think the question was, do you try to seek Health Canada approval first, or sign the contract first, or you make the contract deal and then get Health Canada approval? In the end, we got Health Canada approval. The medicine was delivered. At the time, we were being told by the Pharmacist Association that because of supply chain disruptions, we could have ended up with disruptions for as long as 3 years. We had to weigh that. We asked the Pharmacist Association if they wanted to have raw products so they could mix it themselves. They said it would be far better if it could be pre-mixed. We found a company outside of North America, Atabay Pharmaceuticals, which provides the medication throughout Europe, throughout the Middle East and Africa. They've been in operation since 1939. They had, as I understand it previously, provided product through for medical equipment, and so the process went through to get the approvals. There was a decision that needed to be made. Do we do nothing in the middle of a crisis when parents are going online trying to buy Tylenol from anywhere they could for up to $150 a bottle, where we were hearing about them crushing up adult acetaminophen in yogurt to make it palatable for their kids, when we were worried about people going to hospital with kids with high fever, which can cause seizures if you don't get it addressed. That was the context that we were in. Do we do nothing, or do we try to do something? And we chose to do something. We went through the normal procurement process of asking AHS, which has procured hundreds, billions of dollars worth of product, pharmaceutical items, equipment on our behalf, and we asked them to see if they could procure it. They found a provider, and we moved forward with the decision.
And sorry, same question for the minister.
Thank you. I really don't have anything to add. I wasn't actually the Minister of Health at the time. I was the Minister of Education, but thank you.
And
Great.
your follow-up, Tim?
Yeah, just for the Premier, new allegations from the Globe and Mail, as mentioned. At what point do you step in here and say there needs to be a public inquiry into what exactly happened at AHS? Because a lot of your constituents are asking for it. I think there needs to be some sort of answers beyond what the Auditor General report can say, and obviously what the outside judge can say. So at what point do we say there needs to be a public inquiry? Well,
we've had a number of different eyes on this already. So we had the Deputy Minister who signed the agreement with the judge who look at it. We had my Deputy Minister who just came in from outside, Dale McPhee, look into it. We now have the judge who's going to be looking into it and will give us a report in June that will be posted in July. We have the Auditor General who's receiving the exact same documents as everyone else. We've had the lawyer representing us, interviewing all the parties, looking at all of the documents. And so with those combination of inquiries that are going on, when we get the information out from at least from the judge, we'll have a better idea of whether there are any next steps that are required. That's what we're looking for. Is there something that went wrong in the procurement process? Because we had multiple different service providers that AHS, with multiple different staff members overseeing those contracts, making multiple different decisions with multiple different layers of approval, if that isn't sufficient, we need to know, and we need to be able to get the answers, and if there's some changes, then I'll be able to make that judgment at that time.
But is there anything that could come across your desk that would make you say, now's the time for the inquiry?
Not yet.
Thanks.
Thanks, Tim. And we have time for one more question. We'll go to our next at the mic.
Hi, Drew Strynick, Global News. I guess my first question for you, Premier. 14 CEOs of energy producers and pipeline companies penned that letter to the federal leaders, calling them to declare an energy crisis and use emergency powers to get infrastructure and pipelines built. What are your thoughts on that, and how tangible is this request?
Well, I can tell you, my frustration at having the Prime Minister say one thing and his ministers say something else, because the Prime Minister seemed to indicate that he wants to build corridors, and he recognizes the problems with the C-69, recognizes that the changes did not go far enough in the spirit of the court, and yet his Natural Resources Minister, Jonathan Wilkins, said the exact opposite in a letter in response to that CEO letter, saying the process works just fine and we don't need to change it at all. So this is what we're trying to figure out, is do we have new leadership with a new direction, or do we just have a new face with the same old leadership that's going to create the same old problems? I think that what the CEOs asked for is in perfect alignment with what I'm hearing from premiers, what we saw through public opinion polls. We released a public opinion poll on pipelines that shows that there's above 70% support for pipeline projects in every single province, including Quebec. And I think that the CEOs were expressing that and saying, hey, we're here, we're ready to help, ready to get going, but we have to address the issues that I put on the table. And right now there's a lack of clarity about whether there's will to do that.
And going to the AHS procurement stuff, there was more reporting from Kerry on January 2nd saying that other ministers, Daniel Williams, expressing his concern about the procurement practices and things like that. I guess, how many other ministers within your government are concerned about what is happening between the government and AHS in terms of its procurement practices?
I understand mental health and addiction is working on a response to the allegations there, so I'll let them tell you their side. As I would say, we have to remember the statement of claim has been put into the court. It is one person's memory of events accompanied by an ask for $1.7 million. The government has replied with a statement of offense that has a different characterization of some of those events. And now we've had a sort of a third document filed. So there will be a public statement that you will see that there is also alternative memories of how all of that transpired. So that'll happen a little bit later today. But none of this has been tested in court. That's why I think everybody needs to be cautious about reporting things as if they're true, because we need to actually see the court process play out so that we know what the true events were.
Have other ministers come up to you with their concerns about this?
No.
Yeah. And we have time for one more quick question. We'll go to our next at the mic here.
Hi, Premier. Jen Hodson from the Western Standard. So about comments made by Naheed Nenshi yesterday, calling your national unity crisis childish and juvenile, and it will fail to get any concession from the federal government. So he said, if you keep threatening this national unity crisis, you should call a referendum on Alberta separation and resign if it fails. So how do you respond to his comments?
Wow, that's a big escalation. All I said is address the 9 issues that we have known have been a problem, that I have been very public in saying is a problem, that the CEOs have told me is a problem, and that is really a prerequisite for us to get pipelines built. So I would say that the ball is in the court of the 2 main candidates who are running for leadership to address those issues in a serious way, and then we'll see what happens after the election. Let's see what they campaign on, let's see what they commit to, and then let's see who wins, let's see what they actually do, and then you can ask me that question 6 months after, and then we'll see what the answer is.
Okay, good enough. Thank you. And just a brief follow-up. So you've said that you're on board with zero emissions by 2050. Mm-hmm. So how does that look in terms of privacy? So how would emissions be monitored in terms of trespassing laws, and would the federal government be able to access that information on emissions data?
Well, I reiterated, I told the Prime Minister that my very first conversation with his predecessor was to say, we are already well advanced on emissions reduction. Let's align over a 2050 target. That was my very first conversation with Prime Minister Trudeau. It was a part of my very first conversation with Mark Carney as well, that if we can look at a longer time horizon of 25 years instead of 5 years in the case of one of their proposals, or 10 years in the case of another, or 9 months in the case of net zero cars, said you can't have those kinds of unrealistic timeframes because you have to wait for technology to develop. You have to wait for capital turnover to develop. And you have to be able to have companies with the confidence to invest today, knowing that their investments are not going to be stranded. So I guess we'll see whether or not he accepts that. But I'll tell you what I think the pathway is, because I've met very often with the oil sands operators. One pathway is developing carbon capture, utilization, and storage pipelines. We've already mapped out 25 hubs. We already have at-scale carbon capture facilities. We've already safely stored 13 million tons. We have already partnered with the federal government on Dow Chemical, net zero petrochemical, net zero hydrogen from air products, and Linde, as well as Heidelberg is about to make a final investment decision on net zero cement. So it's working. What we're doing is working. And so I would imagine that's one part of it. Another part of it is we're about to start a consultation on nuclear energy. I know that our friends in Saskatchewan provide 20% of the world's supply of uranium for nuclear. We have a cross-border agreement with them to have an intertie that may also be fueled by nuclear. We wanted to see the appetite for nuclear in Alberta, and that could be another process, especially with small modular reactors, although we're told those aren't going to be rolled out for the next 5 years, and we probably wouldn't be able to get one approved for 10 years. That's why I'm saying that could be a second part of the solution. Third part of the solution is direct air capture. There's a $50 million demonstration facility in central Alberta that is working on different proposals to do direct air capture and then turn the CO2 into useful products. And so that takes time. You can't just snap your fingers and say that's got to be done by 2030. You have to give that time to play out. But I think it's that combination of factors that will allow us to be able to, by 2050, achieve the target of fewer emissions, but still be able to develop our oil and gas resources. So happy to have that conversation. I've been happy to have that conversation for the last 2.5 years, but it's kind of fallen on deaf ears because of the 9 pieces of federal policy that has acted in the exact opposite way. So, the Prime Minister now knows my views, knows I'm happy to partner, and as I say, ball's in his court.
Thank you, Premier, and thank you all of our speakers. That's all the time we have for questions today. So thank you, everybody, for joining us.